There is a new podcast on the First TV, which carries the No Spin News, as you know. Just started Monday. It's hosted by a guy named Josh Hammer. He is a senior editor at large for Newsweek, the internet magazine. And he's been around, a journalist. He comes to us from Miami, Florida. So why do we need 4,000,001 podcasts?
Well, Bill, it's great to join you. As I told you off air, I really grew up watching your program, so it's really an honor and a privilege. So we feel that there is no one currently covering all of the various litigation and lawfare affecting the 2024 presidential election who is being fair and honest about it. Now, you have many podcasts on the left from the New York Times, NPR, CNN, Washington Post, from that whole media orbit that are trying to cover the various Trump-related legal drama, such as the Fonnie Willis incident that you were just talking about. But they're obviously doing so through a very specific analytical prism, a vehemently anti-Trump, you might say TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, inflicted prism. On the other hand, you have some commentators on the right who I think, if we're trying to be fair here, probably also are not entirely fair, that they are so in Trump apologist mode that they're trying to remove kind of their legal analysis cap and just trying to offer up any kind of defense that they possibly can. I would like to think, Bill, and I guess we'll see if this experiment is successful, but I'm just going to call it like I see it. I'm an attorney by background. I still speak to Federal Society groups at law schools all across the country, even published actually a piece of constitutional scholarship earlier this month. I'm a very conservative guy, but I actually openly supported Ron DeSantis in the primary, so I don't hold any water for Donald Trump. I'm a conservative lawyer who's going to call it like they see it. And we're on the show, Bill, we're going to talk not just about Trump's legal trials. We're going to talk also about Hunter Biden, of course, his gun prosecution, his tax prosecution. We'll talk about the question of 14th Amendment, Section 3 insurrection clause, the question of Trump ballot access all across the country. And, occasionally we'll sprinkle in some other legal news as well. So, for example, in my show this morning, I talked about the Texas border dispute, which reached the U.S. Supreme Court.
Let me stop you there. Just nuts and bolts before we get to the Texas situation. How long is the podcast?
It's a short form, so it's only 15 to 20 minutes every morning. It's trying just to get you the legal news of the day. 15
to 20 minutes, 5 days a week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're concentrating on policy that crosses the line into the legal realm. So I get a lot of mail on Texas, and I've been very clear on it. The Supreme Court is the final word in this country on legal matters. And the most recent ruling in Texas, 5-4, was that if the federal authorities want to remove razor wire that the state of Texas has placed on federal land, that they have the legal right to do it, and Texas cannot stop that. And I said that ruling is compatible with the Constitution. Would you say yes or no to that?
Look, Texas and the United States are both sovereign
entities.
Well,
you got to answer the question, Josh. Based on the Constitution, would you say the Supreme Court ruling upheld what the Constitution says?
So unfortunately, Bill, what the court held, I do not think that is compatible with current U.S. law, because if you look at current U.S. law, including the statute that's commonly referred to as EDPA, which was the statute passed after the Oklahoma City bombing in 1996, it is all-encompassing, ubiquitous United States congressionally passed legislation that the United States has to protect the borders of this country. They have to detain illegal migrants when they cross there.
That's a theory, and it's a correct theory. But based on the law, okay, and you can disagree with the law, and I would say probably most of our audience tonight does, that Governor Abbott's doing the right thing by protecting the citizens of Texas by putting razor wire up so migrants can't pour in. I think the sympathies of the American people are with Governor Abbott. But the wording of the law, again, you can disagree with it, but it's clear. And once the Supreme Court rules, that has got to be upheld or we have anarchy. Would you agree with that?
I think it's a little more complicated than that, Bill. I have to say I do. So look, the United States, if you look at what the Supreme Court order said, They said that Border Patrol has the ability to go in and snip razor wire as they so choose. Now, it's worth parsing that out legally because the Supreme Court order, as I think you just implicitly noted, was actually silent as to what the state of Texas can do. It says nothing whatsoever as to what Greg Abbott's
Correct.
Department of Public Safety, Texas Rangers can do when it comes
Correct.
to putting up new wire. So it becomes something of a Mexican standoff, if you will, pun very much intended.
I don't disagree with any of that, okay? The order clearly states that if the Border Patrol deems necessary, it can take the wire out. And state of Texas cannot stop the Border Patrol from doing that. But 3 days later, the state of Texas can put more wire back. They don't violate the law by doing that according to this ruling because the ruling was so narrow, okay? And that's what the state of Texas is saying. Look, all right, go take it out. All right, but we're going to put it back. And then they'll take it out again or whatever. And Mexican standoff, cliche, but that's what it is. However, if Governor Abbott put Texas Rangers down with the razor wire and said to the federales, don't touch our wire, he could be arrested and put into prison.
That's what you can't do. I would agree with you on that. The order very
well,
very
we're simpatico on that. And the reason that all this happened was because the federal government has jurisdiction over the borders of the United States, not the states. And federal law trumps state law, always. Now, the problem then becomes, what do you do when you have a president who will not enforce the law, which we have right now? And this is the frustration on the right Republican Party, not enforcing the law. And people are in danger in Texas and New Mexico and California and Arizona. All of that is true. But there are mechanisms to remove the president if he won't enforce the law. Unfortunately, our system's so corrupt now that the mechanism of impeachment is now a party thing. It's not like it was in Watergate. I'll give you the last word on it.
Well, Bill, this whole dispute takes me back to the 2012 Supreme Court case, Arizona versus United States, which was a very, very similar legal issue. Arizona passed a strong anti-illegal immigration law under then Governor Jan Brewer called SB 1070. And the court did rule in a very divided ruling, 5-4. They basically upheld parts of the law, struck down parts of the law. But my favorite opinion from that case, which is the one that I quoted both on my new show and on my column on Friday, was the concurrence/dissent of the late, great Justice Antonin Scalia. When he says, I think this is exactly right as a matter of constitutional law 101, because the states are sovereign entities, they have the right to exclude and to enforce their own border with two exceptions, Bill, unless there are constitutional limitations to the contrary or congressional impositions to the contrary. That's the supremacy clause of Article 6, which you referenced earlier. I think the key point, though, for Scalia in Arizona and that I would make here in Texas is that those two factors don't actually apply right now because there is no congressional legislation that would affirmatively allow Border Patrol, in this case, to go in and snip razor wire in defiance of pre-existing congressional statute. So I think it is a little bit more legally complicated of a situation. But having said that, I think that Texas is absolutely doing the right thing. And I do think that Biden is bluffing and that he's going to blink first when it comes to this standoff as well.
All right. Well, we'll have more challenges, certainly, in the next 6 months. So the podcast is called America on Trial. The guy I'm talking to right now with the beard is Josh Hammer. And you can check him out every morning on the 1st. And you should. Everything is expensive these days, you know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars and consumer prices higher than ever. If the government continues its printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.